to Relay.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Relay Station for May 23rd, 2020, Invictus Week. I'm not Eris, so I have no creativity for my intros. With you this week is me, and some pretty rocks, and a Shiver. Hi, Shiver.
Hi.
And our wonderful, beautiful guest this week, Nighthawk Sale.
Hey, everybody. I don't know about beautiful, but thanks for having me, guys.
Speak only facts. Now, the important part of the show. Can everybody hear us, and are we all okay in terms of volume?
What?
All right. So, obviously, there's a lot happening with Star Citizen right now. We got the 391 patch live. Was it yesterday? Yesterday. And yep. And with it came the Invictus Launch week. These servers are basically a massive pile of goo right now.
Oh, aren't they?
They basically everybody's going into the game right now to check out things, and it is crashing the servers. I did manage to get in for about half hour, 45 minutes, about 2 hours ago. But then the servers did crash and I couldn't get back in. But I have to say they did a really good job. The convention center looks great. Area 18 continues to look better and better every time I'm there, which is pretty awesome. I still think that the convention center in-game is a early preparation for doing something else in October in-game.
What happens in October?
It may just
Sponge week.
It may just be someone's birthday.
It's the cosmic sponge migration.
Yes, the cosmic sponge migration will settle at the Bevic Convention Center on Area 18 on ArtCorp.
Is it Area 18? I feel like if it is the sponge migration, that would be on New Babbage, because they have all the appropriate scientific observation facilities for that.
Apparently, they really like industrial wastelands. Oh, sorry, that's her.
Wally's is hosting.
Best friends as a starfish.
Oh man. So thanks everybody for joining us. We have a ton of stuff to check out this week. Obviously, we had an ISC. We had a new video celebrating Invictus Launch Week. We had a whole bunch of in-game events. And, yeah, it's just pretty cool all around. They're doing a good job. So, let's jump right into showing sort of a celebration video for me.
This was the video.
So it only came out this week.
Oh, is this the one where it goes on?
Yes.
Because they recycle footage between the kids. These trailers.
I like the callbacks. There. Sorry about that, folks. I was testing it before, and I thought I didn't have any audio at all, because I can't hear it.
Honestly, we kind of did it on purpose. We know you're not here to listen to us. You're just here for the spaceships.
Is it better now? That's a good question.
Yes.
Well, the whole thing is pretty cool. And that, I mean, I don't know. I was very happy when their cinematic team very obviously stopped, or didn't stop, but weren't solely working on Squadron 42 anymore and started doing more stuff for Star Citizen again. Because I really loved these videos.
I have a question.
You're allowed to ask a question.
Is he though?
Do you think it's a good idea for them to already move on to Squadron 999, having not already completed Squadron 42?
Well, you see, Shiver, Squadron 999 is actually a historical thing, not a current thing.
True. Plus, you know, I'll use a real world example. We, about a week ago here in Southern California, had the Thunderbirds fly over. And that's a special unit. Like they're specifically put together for public morale shows, to go to air shows, to do stunt flights, and a majority of them are pilots with combat experience, and oftentimes also with test pilot experience under their belts, because it requires a lot of trust to put someone in the seat of one of those particular kinds of ships. And so it makes a lot of sense for them to reflect a real world thing in a video game like this. And I really, really got excited when the first trailer came out showing Squadron 999, because I think we've seen them in the lore once before, maybe twice. And then it was only in reference to their services as test pilots for current up-and-coming starfighters. So we're actually getting to see the other side of them now, like in-game, and that's really, really exciting. And it I think also really helps to expand upon the reality of the game, you know, because we've been living in this world for so long now, since what, like 2014, when we first got the PU, and we could start moving about Stanton.
It was later than that, but
was it? Okay, so 2015 maybe. But we've been in the Stanton system for a while. We're very familiar with the various megacorporations running their own jurisdictions for the sake of law enforcement, and we hear all kinds of stuff about the UEE. But up until now, it's been so far away, well outside of our reach, because we can't leave this system yet. So it's really nice to see them bringing some of that world beyond into the finger quotes little bubble that we have right now. Even though it's
totally.
not really very small.
No, it's true. Like they were talking about that too on the shows this week. Is that, you know, we know the UAE Navy exists in our minds, but this is the first time they've actually shown up in games, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And
we have just some footage playing in the background here. Some of the stuff people who actually were able to get into the servers recorded of the big capital ships flying around. I see a Carrack there. I own a Carrack. Carrack is freaking massive when you actually are standing beside it, and it looks like a toy beside the Javelin there.
Even next to the Idris.
Yeah, I know.
It looks like somebody is just dumped their toy right next to one of these. It's amazing.
And then you're like, what are those little specks there? Oh, those are the F8s. It's like, okay, great. Oh, wow. The scale is just unreal.
I got to throw out, mad respect to people who are able to get onto the servers and who are able to catch this excellent footage. Like, I've seen some where people are EVA very close to the security dock when the Javelin and the Idrim, I don't know, when they're taking off from the security dock, and it's them in their first-person perspective, and they're like 3 or 4 little EVA bodies around the Javelin, and they're like specks of dust next to this thing. It's just ridiculous.
You can see the pretty great fireworks show in space that they're doing with the arrival
So
of the
cool.
Javelin.
So cool.
And so this video, I gotta tell our audience about this video because I have no idea where it comes from. I use a little piece of software called 4K Video Downloader, and I was trying to download a Reddit video. Just with it, it's not designed to do that. It's designed for YouTube videos, and I was trying to download this Reddit video, and it sat there trying to find a video to download for a while, and then it downloaded this. I have no idea where it came from. It's like 7.5 minutes long, and it's the arrival of the Javelin dock. And if anyone knows where this video comes from, let me know. But I have no idea. The piece of software just pulled it out of thin air. So that's always fun.
Did you guys happen to come across the video with the Javelin taking off from the security dock, and it lifts straight up, and then it starts to do this port yaw maneuver, and the nose of the craft cuts right through all the fireworks. So it starts in front of the fireworks, and as it cuts through the fireworks, they're all going off as if like it's part of the ship, and then it gets to the other side, and you can see at times, like when the fireworks flash, it's just a dark silhouette behind, and then when they go, when the firework in front goes dark and the fireworks in the background light up, it was so beautiful. Like they've really done a great job putting this together, and I can't wait to get past that error code wall.
Yeah,
I want to get in there.
I was so sad when I ran into it because I knew there were lots of server problems yesterday, and I just woke up and I came downstairs and I was like trying to get on, and I could get in, and I was like, oh, must be solved, and then half hour, 45 minutes later, it just all collapsed again. Yeah,
and I was telling you earlier before the show, like I was able to get into 391 on the PTU, thank goodness, and I had the pleasure of being able to walk around the security dock, unoccupied, and I got to walk around the Bevic Convention Center, so it was really nice to get to see that, and that experience was 45 minutes, almost an hour of just nothing but stable gameplay. And nice. There were at least a dozen other people in the convention center with me. I rode the train from the convention center to the spaceport with 4 other people. There were 10 to 12 people around the security, and everything was stable. So I was kind of surprised when they transitioned it over to the live servers, and it just kind of took a crap.
Just too many people.
Do you think it was such stable gameplay because lots of people were banned?
Oh, I mean, in retrospect, it does kind of feel that way looking at it now, but I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have enough of a inside perspective to be able to make an educated guess. This one, getting in the F8.
Yes. I didn't want to interrupt you there, but that giant turret on the Javelin there is terrifying. It's like bigger than most ships.
Didn't they say they were quad 5s?
But probably. And
yeah.
I'm very terrified by that turret. It's as I said, it's bigger than a lot of ships.
Those turrets are like the size of an M50.
Yeah, each gun on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much of the Javelin do you think inside has been done?
I'm gonna say 42%.
Actually, there was, I think it was DG360. I was watching one of his videos a couple of days ago, and he found a video where somebody had managed to glitch their way into the hull of the Javelin, and they could see stations on the bridge that were functioning and occupied by NPCs, and they could see a couple other players had managed to get inside and were running around different areas of the Javelin. So there are definitely some
there's an actual interior
portions of the Javelin.
Oh, look at the coils on that turret. That's so cool.
Jesus. The camera is bigger than the player's head. Like this thing is insane.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not under any illusions that the interiors of the capital ships are done, because they keep saying that they're not done. but I would say probably most of them are about 50 to 75% complete. I think they probably won't put the like this is done stamp on them until closer to the release of Squadron, in case they run into something that they're like, yeah, we really need to add this room or change this room, or something like that. Because really, the importance of the capital ships is not, at least not in anytime soon in Star Citizen. It's Squadron 42. They won't. The capital ships won't be important in Star Citizen for a long time.
But I should point out, this is just, of course, my perspective over the years of growth, watching them evolve as a company, as a development team, and the project, with its tools as they come out and everything. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they got to a point in the next couple of years where they could push out capital ships just as quickly as they do their cities, just as quickly as they do their moons or their planets, because all they have to do is set up that infrastructure that supports the finger quotes procedural generation of capital ship interiors. And if they have the asset library like they do with all these other things, they can just slap a kit together in no time.
Yep.
So, as long as it's taking right now, it's going to go super fast in the near future.
And their ship pipeline is so mature at this point that you're making a new. Cause the reason it takes so long to make these ships, and the reason they've been in development, some of them for like most of the development of Star Citizen, is because they're not for Star Citizen. They're specifically for Squadron, which is this like curated, single player experience, and they need to be right for that, and they won't be right for it until it's released, if you know what I mean. So they're going to continue to be in development until then.
I think it was John Crew on yesterday's SCL. Somebody
you could see the other player through the like hole in the javelin there.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, go ahead.
Somebody yesterday during SCL was talking about how it's like everything else. It's taken how many years for the ship pipeline to mature, and how many times have they had to revise it because of metrics, or because they're adding in functional ship components, or because there's some new kind of gameplay functionality that has to be accounted for. And that's just kind of the way things are. I mean, this is my third semester studying computer programming, and even just in basic computer coding, that's normal. You go through iteration after iteration, and you find that what worked before doesn't work now because the complexity of the whole thing has expanded, and now you've got to go back to one of those root pieces and augment it to be able to adapt to the new features and new things that are being built up on top of it. So like, it's really, really time consuming. I've got nothing but mad respect for them. Like the struggles that they go through trying to not just establish, but maintain a standard throughout production. Dude, that's got to be such a headache. And then on top of everything else, to do it so publicly and to get so much feedback and to take it with such grace, like these guys amaze me.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things that they've mentioned a lot, not as a problem, but as a different approach to, instead of just making a game as per normal, they've also got to maintain the live build of it as well as making the game at the same time. Hello to Hawaii, Sagarath.
So I'm just going to jump here quickly into the... That's awesome. I wish I was in Hawaii. I'm just going to jump in now into the the ISC content from this week, which is also pretty cool. So first up, oh boy, that is not the right size at all. Let's fix that, shall we? Doing it live. So ISC this week was actually pretty great. They introduced a new ship / vehicle. Well, they call them ships sometimes, and I'm like, it's Drives on the ground.
I mean, I can understand how they interchange the terminology since it all goes through the same
Yeah,
pipeline.
totally.
Most of the time handled by the same team, so it's interchangeable.
But yeah, we're gonna see it here momentarily. But Origin is getting into the ground vehicle game, specifically the military ground vehicle game, which is interesting.
Very interesting.
Origin doesn't make much stuff for the military, but as they pointed out in ISC this week, they make some things for the military.
So they, I was watching one of the Info Runners shows that they put out. They put out like 3 or 4 shows since the start of Invictus. By the way, if you haven't seen Info Runners, highly recommend them. Sorry, I know I'm plugging on another show, but excellent content.
Totally fine.
They were talking about the show and how like all the ships in the sale are focused on combat, and they're only selling combat variants of ships from these manufacturers. And their guest on this particular episode of the Info Runners was saying, well, you know, I don't understand why we have manufacturers like Origin and Drake and who like the UEE Navy does not use their ships as far as we know. So like, why are they here? What's the purpose? Who cares that these are combat ships? They're not used by the military. They're not military. So why are they here?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, being that it was a pre-recorded show, I didn't have the opportunity to respond, but my thoughts pertaining to that are this. It's very simply put. The UEE Navy is stretched too thin, according to the lore. There is literally no way for them to be able to patrol and maintain law and order within every single system that the UEE occupies. And so the UEE, as a whole entity, leans on independent systems, mega corporations, to develop their own militias to support those areas that the UEE Navy can't necessarily man actively. And so that, I think, is why we're seeing these non-military issue craft at the show, because it's not just about the military. Okay,
yeah,
this
absolutely.
yes,
there's a lot of militias involved in protecting the UEE.
Definitely, and there are a lot of people, NPCs, PCs, you know, take your pick, I don't care, within Star Citizen, you know, focusing through the eyes of lore, who are citizens, who have earned that status because they have done their time in the service, and after their time in the service have chosen to continue to serve in one of these local militias. And so these militias deserve to be highlighted and supported just as much as the military itself.
Yeah,
I think
a really
it's a
good
great
point.
thing.
There's something else I was going to mention. Oh yeah, that's basically the entire business model of Drake. I mean, they do sell to pirates, but the legitimate like services they do sell to are these militias, and that's why they make cheap, you know, not fancy ships that have guns, basically.
Definitely. And not every militia has the same kind of financial backing
exactly
as their neighbor.
Yeah,
you know,
like
some are going to be richer and they're going to be able to have.
If Microtech has a militia, it's going to be a lot different from the militia of some, you know, border world with, you know, cows running through the streets.
It was
space cows. Sorry, space cows.
System. There was a militia in the Karen system, but they all died because they refused to wear their space helmets.
Yep.
I highly approve of that. Yes. Oh my.
Oh man.
So this is actually a really good tour through the convention center. I did this exact same walkthrough. It's really impressive to see in person. You know what's really funny though? Because I gotta give CIG huge credit for the CitizenCon last year, because it felt very much like this. Like you're walking down the hallways and it was floor to ceiling, like vinyls on the walls and all of the huge ships and everything. And so it was very much like what you see at the convention center there.
And now that you say that, and I'm looking at the videos, and I'm thinking back to some of the videos I've watched in the last couple, like day and a half, it really does feel that way. Like I haven't been able to go to CitizenCon since 2016, and I'm stuck watching it on a screen, and it's the same thing again. I'm stuck behind an error code wall and I can't get on. But I'm able to watch other people doing it, and they're at the convention hall, and it very much does look like the B-roll footage from last year's CitizenCon, where they're out on the floor and they're interacting with people and there are booths all over the place. It definitely does have that feel.
It very much has that feel. They even set it up like the launch, like the Invictus Launch week there at the convention center in the game. They even have like all the booths for T-shirts and like for memorabilia and stuff set up all over the place, so you can buy your Invictus T-shirt or your Origin T-shirt or your Crusader T-shirt
Or your flight jacket.
or your flight jacket. Yes, absolutely.
It's a pretty cool flight jacket. I would check that out.
It is a very cool flight jacket. Right. On to our next video here, which is focusing on the Origin G12 rover, which we saw a little bit of there. This is a cute little bug looking thing. It's nice that it has some cargo space. That's always very handy.
I like its design. I think it's it reads very futuristic, but there's something about it that's also very familiar in terms of like modern day car designs. It feels like a Tesla vehicle. You know what I mean?
It sure does.
Have you seen the interior shots yet from the brochure? Like,
I haven't actually.
My cousin got a Tesla a couple months ago, right before the lockdown, and he took me for a ride. First time I ever sat in a Tesla, and as soon as I opened the brochure for the G12, I was like, "Holy shit! They're selling a Tesla."
It probably took design cues.
Screen right in the middle of the dashboard and everything. Like, it's a Tesla.
Yeah, that's I definitely had that thought run through my head too. So for those who aren't aware, the colorful one over there with the number on the side, unsurprisingly, is a racing version.
I really like that color scheme, by the way. Just saying.
The black one with the missiles all bristling out of it, yeah, that's the military one. Unsurprisingly.
Question.
Go ahead.
On the paperwork, it says that there are 8 projectiles that it can fire, but in the imagery, I only see 4 missiles. Do these racks reload?
My guess
round of missiles.
My guess is they reload.
Okay, because otherwise, for them to count countermeasures as projectiles, I thought that would have been crazy, because it's got those 4 countermeasure pods across the back. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I can
see a couple of these shots, you can see it clearly.
I'm pretty sure though. I highly I don't know this for sure. I haven't read the brochure yet, but I highly suspect that there is no cargo space in the military one. And
the only one with cargo space is the base model.
Yeah, and I think that what you can't see in the back there is a missile rack with a reload for the 4 on top.
Taking the place of the storage. That makes a lot of sense.
Because those are pretty big missiles. When you actually look at the body of the vehicle, I think that's probably what's back there is the 4 missiles in storage.
That's a really good point. It's a good call. Because that same storage space is what the G12R uses for its size 1 EMP. Yeah.
I kind of like the little bug-looking racing thing. That would be it'd be a lot of fun to do the Daymar Rally in one of those things.
I love the fins that they have up on the back wheels.
Oh yeah, totally.
The fender. Yeah, it's really cool. It's got that little spoiler across the top too. Very sporty looking.
It's a cool little vehicle.
I dig it a lot. I think it's a great alternative to the Cyclone, especially now with environmental hazards in the game. Like, the Cyclone is less than ideal for most of the locations that we can go to right now. I think Lorville is one of the only places where you can really operate in the Cyclone freely.
Yes, and don't try and use a Grey Cat on Microtech.
What happens?
Oh, you guys didn't see? If you try and drive the Grey Cat on snow, it explodes.
It's been finals week for me all week, so I've been inundated.
So there's this great shot that I saw of this guy landed a caterpillar on the surface of Microtech, and he had Grey Cats in every bay, and they opened the doors and they all drove them all out onto the surface, and there were like 12, I think, like 12 of them, and 10 of them blew up instantly. Just And then one of them,
awesome.
one of the other ones that survived, like tried to drive away and then exploded off the side. It's like, oh.
That's funny. Eventually, they're going to have to go back
bugs.
to the gray cat, and they're going to have to do a very small rework on that thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
broken in a lot of ways.
It sure is. Not functional anymore. So body dragging. We've seen this for about 5 years now, in various forms. It's nice to see it getting into game.
I have a lot of friends who are eagerly awaiting this because it basically heralds the eventual development of levels of medical gameplay beyond just this is my ICU.
They did specifically call out too that this is a very early implementation, and they will fix they'll fix the distance between the guy's hand and the character.
I love the one where he's dragging down the stairs. It's like, sorry about your head. Sorry about your head. Sorry about your head.
Bang, 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 bang. There's going to be some very great footage coming out of players screwing around with this mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for it. But
I mean, they're already doing those fist fight clubs.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine at the end of a match, you drag the loser out of the pen, bring the next one in.
There's your clip.
Look at that.
Doof, 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 doof. Oh,
yeah, for sure. His neck is busted now.
I have to say it looks pretty good. They did mention once again, like all implementations of new features, this is a tier 0. It's the first, their first attempt to get it into game, but it does look pretty good. The ragdoll looks pretty great.
Do you guys remember seeing?
It should be fun to see the bugs
footage
on this one too.
Do you remember seeing the raw footage they shared with us of them doing the mocap session for the body drag stuff?
I don't remember that. I mean, I don't remember the details. I'm sure I've seen it, if you know what I mean.
So they had one sort of burly guy on his feet, and they had another skinnier fellow lying on his back. And the way that they were recording the drag movement, the guy who was lying on his back was wearing a sort of like a vest that the person standing could grab the little shoulder strap of and then drag the person. And what I'm really liking is how when you watch this video, you can see just how accurately they're able to capture all of these like subtle body movements, because even the distance between the hand and the shoulder of the guy being dragged, like if you're familiar with that footage, you can just kind of in your mind's eye see that shoulder strap being pulled, and you sort of know what's going on there. So it's really cool to see at tier 0 just how accurate the mocap is, and it kind of gives you a sense of the amount of work they have left, at least in terms of visual accuracy, to clean this up to take it past tier 0. And tier 0 is looking really good right now.
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah. All right, let's move on here to the Cutlass Blue interior. So this this guy's looking gorgeous.
Can I just say, I absolutely love the way that they changed out prisoner transportation for the Cutlass Blue. It is no longer get in your tiny little glass box. It is now, I can bring you in hot or I can bring you in cold. And then you freaking cryo freeze the bum in a little pod and just hand him over to Vader. Everything's all right. You're good. Like, it's so cool. You can carry at least twice as many as you could before. Bounties, prisoners, like they've done an excellent job of expanding the affordability of gameplay that you can pull out of the Blue.
Wait until you get the first guy going, "Don't freeze me, bro! Don't freeze me!"
No, right? I have to find the bathroom. I'm molting. It's, I hope to get back to my family in time for Life Day.
Oh man, I love it.
Shouldn't have said Life Day.
I gotta say, although this clip is more about the interior of, also this second ship you're seeing here is the M50.
Don't get me started.
But really, really love the exterior of the Cutlass Blue. It looks so great with all the Policia lights on there.
I've been in love with the canopy for the Cutlass Blue since they first did the variant designs.
Mm-hmm.
And like seeing it in game now and looking at how the field of view is just so pristine from that front pilot seat, like, yeah, they really did a good job on this one.
So, what should I not get you started about with the M50 cockpit?
Well, I'm not so much with the cockpit. I'm absolutely loving the redesign on the cockpit. I think it very, very much falls in line with the current visual language that they're using for Origin in general. So totally fits. My one and only qualm with the M50, and it's in the name, is the fact that they've kind of turned away from its original concept of interceptor, M50 interceptor, and turned it basically just into some like F1 Ferrari racer, which is, you know, not a bad thing. It's a lot of fun to fly. But I remember when the M50 first came out, this thing was like the mosquito from hell.
Yep.
It was the Star Citizen A-wing.
It was a nightmare to fight against in AC. It was
my only ship that I would fly in Arena Commander.
It was
like,
impossible to hit. Impossible to hit. It's so fast.
I'm hoping, you know, I'm not holding my breath, but I'm hoping that while they're taking the time to rework the M50 visually, that they will consider taking a step towards interceptor status again, because we sorely lack interceptors, and it was perfectly designed for that. Like,
I'm hoping once it gets to its final implementation in the game that it will have the interceptor role. And it did before, so they obviously can get back there. But no, I remember, and people even worked out like the proper way to fly it, because if you flew it like any other ship in the game,
you die.
You die. But if you flew it in like decoupled mode, no one could touch you. It was ridiculous. It was great.
Not even decoupled mode.
That's how I flew
I didn't always use it in decoupled mode. It's really just about learning where its power is and how to work its angles through turns and banking. Like I don't even know the right terminology. I'm not a pilot by trade, you know. But dude, I spent so many hours in that cockpit. My top scores in Arena Commander were always the M50. I couldn't do as good in anything else. And that's like Vondel Swarm when it first came out. You remember when it first came out and like they could start dodging missiles, and then all of a sudden it got really hard and people couldn't beat Vondel Swarm anymore? That was the only ship I could beat Vondel Swarm in.
Were we gonna say Shiver?
Nothing. I was just going to give credit, I suppose, to Ms. Hartz as well, because she was another M50 pilot.
Yes. She and I used to go on and on about how amazing it was as an interceptor, and then we both shed a tear.
Well, hopefully they get back there sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
All right. What's our next one here? Oh, my favorite thing to come out of Star Citizen in the last 600 years. They have finally done it. Dynamic brightness of UI.
Oh, yeah.
Finally.
If this doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what in development will.
Yeah, it was sorely needed. Because there's a lot of trouble with the white text of some UIs on on very bright planetary backgrounds, especially with
Honestly,
Microtech. My God,
it wasn't even just the white. Like, you could pick any color with the exception of maybe the red, in most cases, even the red, in some cases, it was almost impossible to read, like regardless of color. It was so difficult. If you got the light behind it, you just forget it. It's gone.
Yeah, I'm glad they're finally chasing this down, because it's one of those like quality of life things that really needed to be fixed.
Definitely. I mean, I know a lot of people right now who prefer being passengers as opposed to piloting, simply because of that.
Yep. Next up, we have the Grimhex improvements. Grimhex is looking good. Yet again.
And they're finally working on the hangars. That's I think for me probably the most exciting aspect of it.
I'm also glad that they're chasing after the they're actually trying to get that racing track through there built.
I know, dude. You remember when Grimhex first came out and everybody was like, "Oh, racing track," and you could glitch through the asteroid to find that section of the racing track. Yeah.
And
yeah,
then
it'll be really nice to see just how they implement space races in the PU.
And our last video here is a look at the future. This is more environments from Pyro.
Pyro 1, if I remember correctly, yes?
I actually do not recall for sure.
Okay.
But that sounds... there aren't very many planets in Pyro. Is there, what, just 1 or 2, I think? 2?
I think it was 2. There used to be 3, and now there's just pieces of the third.
Yeah.
And what I really liked, it was very subtle. They just kind of threw it in there at the end of a sentence. They were talking about how like they thought the entire system was barren, and then in the very last shot when it's really low to the ground and you're looking out across the field, you can see tiny little bits of like grass and other brush life starting to grow. They're like, hey, so you know, who knows? You might be able to find something there that that people thought wasn't.
I'm super wrong. It's not. There's actually 6 planets in that system.
Oh,
I had no idea. I thought it was. I must have been thinking of a different system. But I mean, once you actually read, a lot of these are pretty.
Maybe it was Nexus.
A lot of these are pretty. Like Pyro 1 is a dwarf planet. Pyro 2 is a coreless planet.
Is it a dwarf planet because it's got a beard?
Yes, and it's actually a female dwarf, and most people don't know that.
That's with all the gems.
There is actually a belief that there are no dwarf women, but this is sadly incorrect.
It's just hard to tell them apart behind the beard.
Sorry, slid right into Lord of the Rings there.
For any dwarves watching, we apologize. No offense meant.
I think that this isn't going to be very much
Moria
like
great again.
Sounds like this isn't going to be very much like Stanton, though, because we got like Pyro 1 is a dwarf planet, Pyro 2 is a coreless planet, Pyro 3 is broken up into pieces because it got hit by something the size of a planet.
I'd be broken up over that too.
So Pyro 4 is also partially broken and has been knocked out of its orbit and is on its way into crashing into Pyro 5, which is a gas giant. And then Pyro 6 is a protoplanet that sounds like it's a long way from the star. But yeah. And Ruin Station orbits Pyro 6.
Ooh, which is only 2% gravity? Sid Vicious there with the...
That's very low.
That little knowledge.
You can hardly stick to the frickin' thing with 2% gravity.
Dude, it makes you wonder. I mean, if it's only 2% gravity, you could probably do some super jumps.
You could jump off of the surface into orbit.
I mean, I'm just thinking.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh,
that would be amazing.
So cool.
Damn you, Sid Vicious.
I immediately was thinking, okay, we're all going to get on the server. We're all going to this planet, and we're going to see how many of these rocks we can turn into seesaws, either with just player avatars or with ships or something. But Super Jump, we're taking advantage of it.
You got us. You
That
got
would've been
us.
so good.
One of the things they're doing really well in the environments we've seen from Pyro already is they are distinctly, noticeably different from the ones in Stanton, which
What do you mean?
quite
It's
enjoy.
all rocks.
Yeah, the rocks are different. I mean, planets are rocks, so you're kind of screwed trying to make them that different, but
It's true. That's true.
there actually is a good point here too, in that the gravity can't be that high on this particular one we're seeing, because otherwise those weird flat top things would not form like that at all. They would just fall down.
I don't know. I mean, we get some weird rock formations out in Utah.
True. Most of them are by weathering though, and those don't look weathered. They look like they formed like that.
Look, I don't need any of your science. This is a video game. Come on.
Oh man. Oh, good times. So,
Oh, that's a great idea, Sid. We should totally do that. And this Pyro Planet looks like the kind of place where you would come across one of those rock monsters from Galaxy Quest.
oh, totally. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Garignac?
We should do a.
Yeah, there it is.
It's probably not legal, but I wish we could do a watch party of Galaxy Quest, because I love that movie so much.
I just introduced Galaxy Quest to my teenagers like Monday.
Oh my
I've never seen
god.
it before. It's so much fun.
Lucky bums. Such a good movie. All right. So we are now going to show off some pretty pictures. Pretty.
Oh,
All right.
Finally. Taken forever for us to get to the pictures.
Yeah, but that's good. We had a very full show this week. Some weeks not so full, and we are desperate for our poor fans out there to, give us something to talk about.
Save the show.
Save the show. That's a good way. All right. So, first up here we have the. These are all shots, or well, not all of them, but a lot of them are shots from when I was in the convention center there. So you can see here we have the Polaris. Our last shot from before there was of the Taurus, constellation Taurus. They talked a little bit about it on the oh god, my brain. Star Citizen Live this week. The Taurus is one of those things where they're like, people think it should be really easy to do it, but there are significant hull changes they have to make to the constellation to make the Taurus, because it's not the same hull as the other ones. It's shorter, and there are a bunch of changes to it. And they already have cargo ships in the game, so they're not like chasing after it really hard.
Yeah.
But
I will say, I
go
find it
ahead.
interesting that they chose to steer away from the Taurus's concept and put the Aquila style bridge on the Taurus. I actually thought that was a good choice on their part.
The Aquila style, I actually much prefer the Aquila style bridge, so I'm fully
Agreed.
in support of that. It's one of my favorite things about that ship. The bridge is gorgeous. Especially because I'm sure everyone's seen that Connie commercial, and it just sticks in my brain.
Oh yeah.
It's such a good commercial. So my slideshow is being super twitchy on me these days. So let's see if I can get it to cooperate. Oh, come on. There we go. Hey, it's working. Manual control is working again. This shot is amazing. That's the Starfarer Gemini. And it just is such a beautiful shot. This is not me. This was a guy named, this is from Reddit, and I'm going to find it here. This is Reddit user The Vodka Circle.
Good name.
Yeah,
From this angle, it looks very Mech Warrior.
totally does.
Battle Tech.
Absolutely.
I was just thinking that too, and I think it's
Yeah.
the sepia tones
Mm-hmm.
that they're getting from the atmospherics, because it looks like this is shot on Daymar. Daymar is one of those places where like all the tones and the color are changed because of the atmosphere that you're in.
It's going to be a really cool part of Star Citizen because all the planets will be
Yeah.
like that, and they'll all have different atmospheric tones to them, and yeah, you'll get a bunch of really great stuff like this where
Yeah.
you get a very specific vibe out of a shot like that. It's pretty cool. This is actually set up in the convention center as a place to take a screenshot, and it's like even like the foot outline things on the floor.
Oh yeah.
But it is a pretty great shot regardless.
And I like with this particular display that they had at the bottom, they've got the red cordoning ropes, so you can't go in from the sides. But then right there in the middle, where this shot was taken, standing there looking up at the statue, there's actually a spot on the floor as part of the statue where people are supposed to stand.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was saying.
They specifically
Yeah.
made this with selfies in mind.
Exactly.
Which I thought was fantastic, because they didn't have to do this kind of thing. They could have just done a bunch of displays like the Squadron 999 looping Hornets and just something to walk past. But this one they chose to make interactive, and I thought that was brilliant on their part.
Yeah, it's great. I like it a lot.
It made me think of the Dragonfly from CitizenCon 2 years ago, where people would sit down on the Dragonfly, the JRDF fabricated. Like, that's what it makes me think of.
Definitely. Yeah, it's great. And something you totally can't see here because it's a picture and not a video, but there's also like fog going by, like drifting by in the background.
Oh.
And that extra atmosphere, it's really a neat little shot and spot and display. So
Yeah.
let's move along here. If it will cooperate with me, which it totally is not. God. Some days OBS makes me cry. So this is sort of a wide shot of the lobby area at the convention center. So you come in from transit from the right-hand side of the image there. And there's these displays all over the place. I'm up on the second level. Then there's elevators down into the areas where all the ships are. There's the looping 999 display. Pretty cool.
There it is.
And you can even see there's like T-shirts for sale right in front of the little stand.
And I love it too, 'cause, like, they've got Invictus specific merch
Yep.
that they're selling in
Yep.
2 different colors. There's like an olive drab and there's a dark green. And then separate from the Invictus specific merch, they've also got manufacturer merch. So like you can go over and you can get a MISC or an Origin or Consolidated Outlands shirt and hat. It's like there's a lot of little things that they have spread out throughout the convention floor for you to pick up if you have the AUEC.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes it really, really feel like a convention, which is just awesome. And only added to my suspicion that this is a dry run for doing a CitizenCon type of thing in this convention center.
Yeah. Honestly, after this, depending on how successful it is, I would be shocked if this was successful and they decided not to do CitizenCon in a similar fashion.
They've already said they're not doing a full convention. I'm not 100% sure if that decision's going to hold, but assuming it does, I think a lot of CitizenCon will be this kind of thing. They'll have an in-game event and maybe some videos and stuff and some special versions of Star Citizen Live. But yeah,
Fingers crossed.
so this is a recruitment desk. Had nobody standing at it. No one's apparently getting ready to go out there. This is a good shot of one of those
I think they're
merchandise
waiting
booths.
for Anvil and Aegis days.
You can see the something. Thank you for mentioning that. Somebody asked on Star Citizen Live about the Redeemer, and they gave a hint that we will see something of the Redeemer in game for Aegis Day.
Yes,
so
I'm looking forward to that.
sounds like they are actually working on that ship now. So
And
Finally.
it
So
got a
they've
little bigger.
redeemed themselves?
No.
Did you
not
see
yet.
the? I think it was. I want to say it was Lun Fochi who put it out over Twitter, but somebody in the last couple of days, they were able to grab the HoloViewer model from Bevik, and they put the new Redeemer model next to the old Redeemer model, and it's actually grown a little bit in size.
It doesn't surprise me in the slightest. The metrics were
Not at all.
completely wrong.
Horribly off.
Yeah.
Horribly off.
Yeah. So,
But it'll be
Yeah.
it'll be really interesting to see just how true to the original design they keep it, and what they have to change to adhere to current metrics. It should be
yeah,
cool to see.
totally. I think honestly, I think that's what's taken them so long to even get around to it, was that they had to do so much work on that chip.
Yeah. I mean, let's give the guys who made it some props. They
Oh,
did
yeah.
make it under some really, really strict deadlines, and they were building these before there were standardized metrics for ships.
Yep. Totally.
So, you know,
So
and congratulations again for getting a job at CIG for having made the Redeemer.
Absolutely.
You guys are awesome.
I really like that
Nehkara.
consultant. Yeah.
Fire M wants to know if you got any pics of the hollow rooms, especially the Novatonk.
So yes, I got pictures of the hollow rooms, but you saw those earlier. They're the only two I got before the game crashed. This is the Taurus and the Polaris. Taurus and Polaris. That's the only two I got, and then the game lost its mind, and I couldn't get back in. So,
Hey, didn't all the Polaris, Warbond or otherwise, sell out in like less than 5 minutes yesterday?
oh, were there some ships for sale yesterday? I actually was totally I was completely out of the loop yesterday, so.
Yeah, the sale started yesterday.
Oh, I'm terrified to look at the funding, but I'm going to do it anyway. Terrified in a good way.
Apparently there are still more waves.
Oh my god.
Are there?
And yeah, I honestly, it doesn't. Oh my god, they made $1 million yesterday. Okay.
Just a drop in the hat.
Oh, wow. They have been doing so well in funding this year. It's like, it's really messing with my brain because I've been watching their funding for so long, and it's just radically different this year than it has been previous years.
Yes. I saw an infograph on that recently, and we've already made, I think, as much as last year and a little more in like less than half a year.
No, we haven't made more than last year. Not yet.
No. I'm not talking about in total sum. I'm talking about on monthly basis. We made more per month over the last 3 months than those 3 particular months over the last 4 years.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that's only 3 out of the 5 years, 3 out of the 5 months of the year so far.
Right.
This is the. I'm just gonna quickly grab a shot for you guys so you can have an idea of how different this year is compared to previous years. I'm just gonna drop it into the Twitch chat in just a moment. There we go. By the way, I love Imager. It's so fast to make things. There we go. There it is. So you can see that 2020 is just vastly ahead of previous years. So it's all color coded by month, and so the purple is May, or the like brighter purple, I guess, is May on the left hand side, and you can see it's like not even. It's not even fair.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So they made $1 million between yesterday and today, and in the last hour, I'm looking here, they made 110 grand. So it's only getting to be more. So, all right. Back to screenshots. I'm not sure how many more I have, but we'll keep on going. This is this is right in the lobby there, but it's a pretty cool little display. Their flight suits are great. They look just awesome. and so much great work by the artists at CIG who do all of the uniforms. They spend so much time on them, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where at the beginning you were wondering if they're making them fast enough, and now there are so many pieces of clothing and uniforms and stuff. It's like, holy crap!
And it
it's
makes you wonder how much more they have that they haven't put out yet.
We actually used to have discussions about if there were enough ships in Star Citizen. There are like 150 now.
I
And
thought we broke
like,
160.
yeah, that's probably about right. Yeah. I was just that was a ballpark number.
It's crazy numbers regardless.
So this is basically when the game crashed for me. I got this screenshot of the display hall with the actual ships in it. So you can see the 300 series up front there, and then in the back you got a couple Connies and yeah, and what I think is an Apollo. But yeah, there's and there's an Aurora on the right. I haven't actually seen an Aurora in the game in so long because I never fly mine. I was like, hey, this looks cool. Yeah, it was good. This is a bit of a wider shot of that hollow room that for RSI there. And yeah, so that was about my journey through the game this morning.
You say it's a hollow room, but it's got stuff in it.
Oh, shiver. Shiver, 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 shiver. So I'm gonna just leave us on this display, and I'm gonna put one of the videos back up here. Just let it loop while we answer some questions. So if you have any questions, please ask.
That's part of the show.
And I don't think our bot is working. I hope that have we been putting the question link in there? You have, because Shiver's amazing, and we love him. It's true. It's true. You can quote me on that, and it's recorded, so kind of don't have a choice. All right.
Every time I hear or see someone say that, I think you're so sarcastic.
All right. So,
You think my Irish accent's bad, Slane? You should have seen my French accent on VTM the other day.
I can't really imagine you. Anyway. So question number 1. So we only have 5 questions. We need more questions, so please ask.
We've got to save those first 3 for Eris's return.
Do we? Okay.
Important.
Okay, now so we only have 2 questions. So now it's really, really important you ask questions. Sid asks, since we have race cars now, where we're going, do we need roads? So yes, we do. And yes, they're coming. They actually asked this question of the environment artists recently. Roads are coming. They're still a little uncertain how often they'll be used by people, but they are going to be making roads in the game.
Do you remember?
They say that now, but how many other things have they said that about? And as soon as it hit the game, it like everything just hit the fan and it's all over the place. Like things they never thought possible were showing up.
So here's my question.
Do you remember on that ATV they showed the tools so they can just lay out roads quickly on the planet?
Yeah.
But it also does beg the question of which side of the road are we going to drive on?
Both sides.
Who said there's a side?
See,
good point.
This is what I want to know. I want to know if there's going to be like cops in little like rovers, like the Origin G12 rover, all pimped out in like police colors, and
you'll have cops on like X1 forces. Motorcycle cops. I see
my God.
You were going 15 meters per second over the speed limit.
You know what that reminds me of so much is remember in Star Trek 2009 there, the new Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
The cop that pulled over young Kirk there.
Uh-huh.
It's exactly like the thing he was riding on.
What I was thinking was a little bit more along the lines of the bike troopers at the end of The Mandalorian there.
I haven't seen The Mandalorian.
This sort of, oh my gosh. It's just a couple of stormtroopers with their speeder bikes, and like they've got Baby Yoda in a bag, and they're just sitting around outside the town waiting for the phone call to come into town, and they're just talking about stupid shit back and forth with each other. Like I would love to be driving down one of these roads in Star Citizen and pull over and find two cops standing next to their X1s just having some conversation about, oh yeah, dude, you know, I was at Wally's last night, I drank this, I talked to that person. Just stupid conversation. Like that would be so funny. It's so cool.
I hope that happens. I hope that's where we're going.
Yeah, it would be great. It would be great.
Inquiring Minds Want to Know asks, why do you have such controversial guests on the show while Eris is gone? This might be my last relay station. Where are you going? Inquiring Minds Want to Know.
I mean, Shiver is pretty controversial, but he's a regular.
He says, I'm offended by several things said by Pretty Rocks.
I'm definitely irregular.
I mean, the Rocks are quite vocal, but we think it fits within the tone of the show, so we're going to allow it. But we take your complaint under advisement. Also, I hope it's not your last relay station.
Did you know that Pretty Rocks was actually convicted?
Wherever you're going right now, please be safe.
The original Grib asks, for Nehkara, this is not really about Star Citizen, but is SpaceX really doing a manned launch on the 27th? Yeah. And don't worry, I did plan on talking about that. So the 27th is pretty squishy of a date because, well, it's the first crewed launch from the United States in 9 years. So they really don't want to mess that up, you know? So, and also the weather's not looking great. I think they're at a 40% probability of being able to launch right now.
And the last thing we need is a repeat of Challenger.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Bite your tongue. So yes, SpaceX is launching, along with NASA, of course, Crew Dragon, atop a Falcon 9 rocket, to the International Space Station on Wednesday at 4:33 Eastern Time is the current launch time. I will be covering that. NASA TV will also be covering it. NASA TV is going to be live for 27 hours straight from 4 hours before the launch right up until the docking with the space station.
That's awesome.
Yep. And if they aren't able to launch on the 27th, the first two backup dates are very convenient. They're the 30th and the 31st, so that's Saturday and Sunday next weekend. So if it doesn't launch on Wednesday, it'll launch, or well, they're gonna their next attempts are Saturday and Sunday. Obviously, they're going to be very cautious with this one. It is still a demo launch, so this is SpaceX and NASA demonstrating the ability to launch on this vehicle, launch humans on this vehicle. So the launch is called Demo 2. Demo 1 was the uncrewed launch, which did successfully go up and visit the space station and come back and land. They will move on to operational flights after this in roughly October is the first operational flight. But even for this flight, it was originally planned to only be like a 1-week trip to the space station and then come back. But they're confident enough in the vehicle and happy enough with what they're seeing that they're actually going to let the vehicle stay on station for, sounds like 3 or 4 months. So before they come back.
Wow.
Which is nice for the astronauts too. They don't have to just go up there and then come back right away. They actually get to stay up there for a few months.
And they can go for a drive if they want to. They're not stuck inside like so many of us.
So
They could solve that issue. They could just open a couple of windows.
There you go. There you go.
it's a little cold outside and a little vacuumy.
Didn't they pack jackets?
So also of note there, so you know, again, first crewed launch for 9 years from the U.S. But there's something else I was going to say, and my brain's just not working. There are 2 astronauts going up on this launch. The operational launches will have 4, and that first operational launch in October has 3 NASA astronauts and a JAXA astronaut, which is pretty cool. JAXA is the Japanese space agency. So your neck of the woods there, Shiver. Yeah, it should be pretty great to watch. It's easily the most important orbital launch from the United States since the last shuttle launch. So it's going to be quite a thing. A lot of pressure there too. One of the cooler things
there's no pressure in space.
There is inside the capsule.
Oh yeah.
Well, at least we hope anyway. But other kind of cool thing, NASA has pulled out the out of the dustbin of history. They've revived the worm logo, the old NASA logo.
Really?
Yep. So it's
Cool.
it's emblazoned across the side of Falcon 9 right now, and on the
Nice.
chest and on the chests of the new spacesuits.
Yeah, I love those new spacesuits, by the way.
I do too.
I think they're phenomenal. And
They remind me of Star Citizen.
They kind of do. They kind of do.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, it's about time these people get clothing that's more functional for the kind of things that they have to do.
I think functional is the wrong word because it's always been very functional. It's more that they are
Okay.
now. It now looks good instead of looking
Streamlined. How about
super frumpy.
streamlined?
Yeah, there's a good term. Streamlined is better.
Okay.
One of the things that's really cool about the new spacesuits, though, is that instead of having a whole bunch of different umbilicals hooking them in, they actually the SpaceX suits are only have one connection. It's down at their knee, and it provides everything. It's like full life support, communications, everything. It's one plug-in.
Do we know what kind of textiles they're using for this? Because I know that they've got a lot of new textiles out, like this. It's like a polyurethane glycol combination.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm absolutely certain somebody knows. But pretty much the extent of what I know about what fabrics they're using is that the exterior layer, very obviously, you know, learning from Apollo 1, the exterior layer of their spacesuits is basically completely fireproof.
Right.
But that's about the limit of what I know about the actual material science behind the textiles. But I did take them several years to make these suits, so I suspect they're about as advanced as you're gonna see out there.
Space isn't real.
I have literally run into people who believe that. Yes, I used to work with one who thought who held the belief that I actually didn't even think. See, this is funny because I didn't even think their belief was real, but apparently I've seen it other places recently, so I guess. But they thought there was just like a big blanket over the Earth, and somebody poked holes in it, and those are the stars.
So last summer was my first semester going back to college, and I took an astronomy class with somebody who believed that space was not real. that was a very interesting series of lectures to go through.
Oh my god, that's amazing!
Yeah.
It makes me simultaneously happy and terrified.
How did we advance as a species?
I just finished my anthropology class. I don't want to think about that right now.
That's a good point.
That's the best answer I've ever heard.
No, literally, the textbooks are sitting right here. I took my exams yesterday and everything. Just ridiculous.
All right, I'm gonna show it. Here you go. I managed to buy myself enough time. Here it is. They're bringing back the worm. Been retired
Fuck, that's
for
retro.
Nice.
retired for 28 years. But
So they're all going to space camp.
yeah, yeah. There's the shot of
people
Falcon
of a certain
9.
age will get that reference.
There's a shot of Falcon 9 with the worm on the side of it. But yeah, it's gonna be a big thing. Looking forward to the launch. Also vaguely terrified.
I mean, I slightly political here, very political here. This is something that's only just occurred to me, right? One of the things with the current president of the United States is to bring America back to its past glory.
We don't
Wasn't
currently
one of
have
its
a president.
crowning
What are you talking
achievements? Wasn't one of its crowning achievements fucking NASA?
Yep, 100%.
Yep.
And to be fair,
the funding is still not exactly great. They're still having to borrow from the Air Force and things.
I'm not a big fan
I
of
don't know.
I'm not a big fan of the man, but one of the very few ways they've actually held up the mega thing is NASA's funding is about as high as it's been in the last like 30 or so years. They have a significantly larger budget right now than they have recently. So, or like, past years. I'm gonna quickly pimp out a shirt that is not being sold by Relay, but is being sold by some folks that it's basically from a podcast that I listen to all the time called We Martians. But they made this amazing shirt based on the NASA worm logo that also has the Crew Dragon capsule.
That's cool.
With the A there. I bought that shirt literally instantly when I saw it. And
I can see why.
And it's pretty great. So, thought some people here might be interested. But yeah, we're going to be covering the launch. Very hopeful that it'll be Wednesday, but the weather's not looking great, so it might be next weekend. We may have to do like a combo relay station / hey, we're going to space type of deal. Should be fun. So yeah. Yes, ISS must be commercialized. I agree. There is a commercial module going up to the space station in the next couple of years called the Axiom module that will eventually be built out into its own free-floating space station, which is pretty great.
Wow.
They are also
And it's still going to have a Starbucks.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, why would you go to space
Out of
without a frickin' Starbucks? Oh, yeah. Also, I gotta give a shout out. There's a great shot there of Hubble with the worm logo on it. Yeah, Hubble's been up in space so long that they were still using the worm logo when they built it, and then it was retired for 28 years, and it still works. Anyway,
that's one of the problems over here. All these people that just getting so old, they're not retiring either. So young people aren't able to get a job.
If we had new space telescopes, I might buy that argument, but we don't. All right, let's slide back over to Star Citizen here for the last 10 minutes or so. Let's see what our questions are. Holy crap, there's all sorts of questions now. All right.
Sweet.
So, Sid asks, do you think they will buy more, or do you think they'll add more buyable vehicles to the Teach's shop at Levski? It's been the same ones forever. Almost certainly. But they do have a habit of getting focused on new stuff, and some older things don't get updated for a while. Always goes through those cycles. Look at Grimhex too. Like, Grimhex has been around for quite a while. Now they're circling back to it to update it. But I'm sure it'll all come along and be updated in the future.
But I would also recommend going back and looking at some of the lore for the location, because based on that, they also make their determinations as to what sort of things are made available in those locations. So for the most part right now, that kind of stuff is static, but eventually down the road, when they have more of their mechanics in place, that'll be more dynamic.
Yeah, hopefully. That would be... yeah, it's going to be... It's going to be an interesting balance between the dynamic economy and the lore, I think.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how they like massage that.
Well, it'll be interesting definitely to see how they amalgamate it all. But I mean, right now where we're sitting, it looks very much like the lore is the foundation that establishes what we see and interact with when it first begins. And then it'll be up to everything else and the dynamic economy that will determine where everything goes after that. So there's definitely room for them to be able to squish it all together in a tiny box. But like you said, it'll be really interesting to see how they actually execute it, make it operate.
Fastcard asks, I don't know how CIG got footage of me getting shaken baby syndrome, but they've captured what happened to me perfectly. Is this footage admittable in court? Yes, is my answer to that question, and we're going to move on to Salty McSaltface. Asks, if Drake had booth babes, if Drake had booth babes again, how awesome would that be? Pretty awesome and very Drake.
There's a part of me that's actually really hoping that they do have the booth babes, but only on Drake Day. Like
yeah, exactly. I think that's what they're talking about. It's just
super Drake. So it would make a lot of sense for them to do that. And I think that the only way that they could get away with doing something like that in a, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think there is a word. An appropriate presentation. Drake is the one that would allow them to pull it off because everyone else is so clean and UEE standards, and we're Star Trek.
I could see having like, go ahead.
If they have Drake, anyone, they need to have roughs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Fastguard asks, I might have missed the convo, but did anyone get a G12? Also, where are the G12 conventions held, Earth or Terra? No, Terra. Did you get one, Nighthawk?
I did. I mean, I have one because it came with my 600i Explorer, but I got a second one, and it's actually going to be replacing my Cyclone because it's enclosed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, those bullets flying are biatch. Sid asks, is Starlink still on track? So this is an interesting one.
No,
yes,
it's in space.
It is on track and it's in space. So yes, in general, they were going to try and do a Starlink launch last week, but then there was a tropical storm super early in the season. And it didn't really pose much of a problem for the launch, but they wouldn't have been able to land the booster, and they weren't thrilled about that because, you know, that's kind of the whole deal with SpaceX is they want to reuse their boosters. Right. Shiver's having a moment. Are you okay, Shiver?
This space isn't real. It's like I still can't get over people think space is fucking real. How blind or stupid or ignorant or just downright pig-headed do you have to be to look up and go, it's not fucking real, that.
So they were going to do a Starlink launch about a week ago, and they basically had to abandon their attempt because it was getting too close to this launch, to the Crew Dragon launch, because both of them needed the drone ship out on the ocean to catch the booster, and so they decided to use it for Crew Dragon instead of for Starlink, which makes a lot of sense. And so they do have a second one being retrofitted, but it's not ready yet. So, but yeah, overall though, the project is definitely still on track. They're going into like a friends and family beta test this summer. So to be like SpaceX employees and, you know, other people around the company. And then they're planning to do a public beta test of the service right around the end of the year. and it's going to be starting in northern U.S., Canada, and maybe parts of northern Europe. I'm talking not even that far north in Europe. They mentioned the UK might be able to be serviced in the
It's not
early
Europe
phases.
anymore, is it?
Oh yeah, sorry. It's that weird island thing. Well, I guess series of islands. Anyway, but yeah, things are going all right. Basically, the biggest danger for that project is that they run out of money before it is collecting much revenue, which is part of the reason why they're trying to go so fast. Because literally every single attempt to do this in history has gone bankrupt, so they're trying not to do that because that would suck. However, if it works, it has the potential to make them far more money than just launching rockets does. So anyone who's not actually sure what Starlink is, it's basically high-speed broadband, low-latency internet from low Earth orbit. So anybody on the Earth, basically anywhere, will be able to get it. And Shiver is having a moment again. Are you all right there, Shiver?
Fast cut. My character has defects. I need to respawn. Fast cut.
I love you, Fast Guy. The Stig asks, does roads mean racetracks? Yes, 100%. If they're making roads, they're making racetracks. Inquiring Minds Want to Know asks, yet another question. Are you guys going to watch Space Force? Yes, absolutely. That show looks amazing. Yeah, Steve Carell is starring in a show called Space Force, coming out on Netflix on May 29th, which is this week. Yeah, it looks great. I'm looking forward to it. Salty Mac asks, do you think the Javelin might be a bit over the top for something ownable by players? So I'm gonna remind you guys. No, I don't think so, because all the ones bought by players come without anything. They're literally stripped of all of their ship components, and you basically have this Hulk that you have to build out into an operational ship.
Wait, didn't they recently say that the Javelins would have at least base level components so that like players could at least fly it around?
I actually didn't see that update. I was just going based on the original when the ships were sold. What the original?
Yeah, I feel like
was.
I heard something like that in only like the last week or so.
So they would have base level components, but not military components. Is that the idea?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it would be the stress work, the grinds to actually upgrade it to decent components.
I don't like that as much. I think they should have made them like almost useless at the start and made it really hard to make them useful.
I completely agree. The original concept of you've got the hull of a ship. You basically you bought this at the yard, and now you and your org
have to
together have given yourselves a mission. You've got to put it back together again. Congratulations, you finished it. Achievement unlocked.
I think they were basically saying like you had engines, but that was it.
That's one of the things with the capital ship, the bigger capital ships, that I really like the idea of. If you ever come across a Bengal carrier, then you've got this mission to actually build it up from literal scrap upwards and hope that you can repair it. I think that's awesome.
I think it's amazing.
It's a new and unique twist on the base building mechanic that we've had for years now.
And if anybody from CIG is watching, you should go back to your original concept for the Javelin. If you have indeed changed it, it should be no weapons, no shields, no system components except for like engines.
You got to get out and push it.
Yeah.
And maybe like the sensors you find on an Aurora.
Exactly.
It's nearsighted.
And so yeah, I think that they have some work to balancing it to make it something that should be able to be owned by players. They got to massage that into something that actually works, because I'm fine with it if it takes a lot of work to make it useful. If you know what I mean.
One of the sort of balances comes with it, though, doesn't it? Because you might well have a Javelin, but you're still going to be able to be swarmed by a group of locusts or smaller fighters, gladiators. You're not going to be able to target a gladiator in time because those turrets are fucking huge. Their literal tracking level is not going to be fast enough to get a gladiator. They are cap to cap.
If Star Wars has taught us anything, it only takes one Archimedes.
I love that idea. Shoving the Archimedes right up the... Anyway. Oh, man.
It's that one little exhaust vent in the back.
So, I Adore Pizza asks, can javelins land on planets? I noticed it has a cargo bay door/lift underneath it. We are never
delivering pizza.
Oh, we're never really sure with CIG. They say some ships can't land, and then they make them able to land, so we're not really sure. I think it would be a bitch to land, because I can't imagine it taking off from a planet's surface in any kind of hurry.
I would hope that if it does have landing systems on board, that they view those landing systems in a similar fashion to the way they use a landing system on the Intrepid class starships in Star Trek. Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah,
that had landing systems, but they barely ever used them, and most of the time it was for emergency situations only. And then they would have a lot of trouble getting it back off the ground. Like it took a lot for them to get it back up into space. So I would hope that if it does have landing systems, it would be something similar. Is this a dire enough situation that we have to touch down? If we touch down, will we be able to get back up again? Do we have the manpower? Do we have the resources? So on and so on.
And not only that, but there's a reason that it's in a space dock in the Invictus week show right now, and not on the ground. Yep. I just don't want to definitively say it can't land, because I don't think it's supposed to land, but that doesn't really mean much in Star Citizen. I do know that something like one that has never been able to land and has never been a concept for it to land is like the RSI Orion. So they have to come up with something, because the Orion literally doesn't even have any way that it looks like it might be able to land. It's a spaceship. So last question.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us, by the way. Inquiring minds want to know, what do you think that Tic Tac really is from the 3 videos the Pentagon released?
He's talking about
they're talking about the USS
videos.
Nimitz. Bro, you're coming like 2 years late to the party here. That stuff came out 2 years ago. It was recorded, 10 years ago? And you're talking about stuff that's been going on since the mid-40s. Let's put it this way. There is enough out there for you to be able to access to answer that on your own. The answer is yes. I highly recommend you do the research. I've had my own experiences with strange things of this nature while I was in the military, so I can tell you some of this stuff is real. But do the research. Always do the research.
All right, folks. That's been the Relay Station. Thank you for joining us. I hope you all had a good time. 46 of you ended up here. I am not sure if you're lost, but thank you very much for joining us. And
As soon as you said that, it
we
went
hope
down
that
to
we were able to
44.
entertain you.
I noticed that, yeah. So go and watch Captain's Table, as always, because it's awesome, and it's in like 17 minutes. Yeah, we'll see you all next week. Yes,
Quick
go
thing.
ahead.
1 hour, 50 minutes. I'm going live on my channel for VTM.
Go watch VTM.
Yeah,
Always good.
Seriously.
2 hours.
And just really quick, if I could throw this in. First of all, thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely.
This has been a pleasure and a wonderful change of pace for me, because I've been stuck in the house for 3 months now. Wait,
are you doing this from your yard?
I wish, man. That would be so nice. No, the inflatable pool is out there taking up all the space. But look, just it's been a wonderful show. We've had a lot of fun, but let's take a second just to you know acknowledge that the stuff going on in the world is still very much real, still actively going on. Be safe, be smart. As your areas
Take
start
care.
to unlock and your lives start to expand back out into the world outside, pick and choose what you do wisely. Wear those face masks. You know, like
Don't make out with strangers.
Take care of your family. You know, and also take a moment. Say thank you to those who are still working, keeping your area going, keeping you fed, keeping you clothed, keeping those around you healthy, like the medical workers, the couriers, the drivers, like IT. There are so many people right now who are in the role of a hero. And just as much as any serviceman deserves to be acknowledged as a hero for their service, these people deserve it too. So treat them respect, treat them with courtesy, always say thank you. Absolutely.
Also,
wash your hands, you grubby little bastard.
One that I haven't seen a lot of call out for is anybody working in manufacturing or farming who are still keeping all of our shit moving.
Seriously,
because Elon Musk has had a lot of really bad takes on this whole mess, but one of the things he said does ring true. If you don't make anything, there isn't any stuff. So thank you very much for all the people who are keeping food on our shelves and, you know, keeping there being stuff for me to buy to eat.
Keeping the internet running.
Keeping the internet running, exactly.
Serious.
So yeah. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you on Wednesday for the SpaceX launch. Hopefully they get it off that day. And if not...
And hopefully we'll see you on the servers for Invictus before that.
Yeah, here's hoping. All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care, everyone.